Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we are discussing the law of space. Dr. Jakhu, there is a Russian astronaut who is going to, I think, to the International Space Station, who's currently pregnant. So this raises a lot of really interesting issues. What would the nationality be of the baby if it's born in space? I don't think there's any plan for the baby to be born in space. I believe she's returning. But if for some reason the baby is born there, what would their nationality be? Would it be a Russian baby, or what if it's born in a different part of the space station, subject to, it's the American part of the space station? Would the baby be able to claim American citizenship?
Well, first thing is we should understand that invariably laws of all countries determine nationality. So international law has relatively little to say about it. So the question, if the mother of the baby is say Russian in this case, obviously it will be the nationality of the child will be Russian. So that is again is a straightforward answer. There may be some minor issues here and there, but that is what it is. But it all will be all determined by the Russian applicable law. Now, if the child is born on the American module and then think in space, that may be a little bit different. I said I'm not expert in American law, but suppose if American law allows children to be born on American territory, and then, in my view, that child will get also American citizenship. So the question is that is a bit is complicated.
Really interesting. Okay, so this question is a little bit more out there, Kuan-Wei, but a lot of people have asked me to ask this. Are there any international treaties that govern first contact with alien life? What exists? Is there any agreement?
No, unfortunately there isn't, and perhaps this is an area that needs further research, right? So, to elaborate, space law and international law generally has traditionally been very state-centric. So, the laws and principles are centered around the idea of sovereignty and regulating the relations between states. So, unfortunately, we haven't thought about potential encounters with alien life and how we would interact with them. But there are certain provisions on the possible contamination of other celestial bodies. Let's say we're landing a rover on Mars. There are some regulations in regard to it has to be a very clean rover, and there are also regulations about the possible contamination that may result from the return of samples from other asteroids, for example. Right? So that's the extent of our interaction, so to speak, with extraterrestrial life.
One of the other things I want to ask, we've got about a minute and a half left, is we've talked about mineral rights for the moon. What about things like small meteors? If they land on Earth, if they land on private property, like in your backyard, Dr. Jakhu, do you just own a meteor now if it lands in your garden? Or is there some government regulation that says you need to submit it to the space agency?
To the best of my knowledge, there is no law which prohibits the ownership of these natural meteorites falling on the backyard. If they fall, you can keep it. But that it depends. I have not really heard any national law even sort of go on it. The government of the government, concerned government, may have some laws trying to look at those meteorites they want for research purposes, things like that. But I think my personal view is that the person who finds it owns that piece of space.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Kuan-Wei?
Yeah. So there is actually, so in Canada there's a very old case law that and it was mentioned in passing that a meteorite falling on land would be part of that land, and therefore the owner of the land would claim ownership. But there are some countries that have adopted legislation which says meteorites, because of their unique scientific or cultural value, must be delivered to a state museum. Denmark is an example of that, and I believe Switzerland has also that.
That is all the time that we have today. This was a fascinating topic. Thank you both so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for having us.
We've heard today about the fascinating legal questions that arise as we begin to explore outer space. Of course, there's so much unknown about space that we can't begin to predict some of the legal questions. But I hope today's episode has been a start. What do you think? What will human exploration of space lead to? You be the judge. I'm Christine, and remember, a freer Canada starts with you.